How are you? Let's hope you are doing fine. We are back again to continue our series of topics. Yes, until we reach at the last topic, which is in grade 12. So I'm your hon, Mr. Kolopa. Today we are going to look at equations involving square roots. Equations involving square roots. So what we should understand before we even look at the topic itself, we should know when you talk of the square root, what really are we talking about? Are you able to find the square root of the perfect number? So, like for example, are you able to find the square root of 25? Are you able to find the square root of 256? So this is what we are going to discuss first before we look at the actual topic, which is equations involving what? Involving square root. So let's look at the square. Let's try to understand the square and the square root first. So let's write the topic, which is equations involving the square root. Yes, so let's look at equations involving square root. So our equations for today, they will involve the square root. And this is the square root. This is a symbol for the square root. Now, how do we find the square root? We need to understand. That's why we have the first question, question 1. We have to know how to answer this. When we say 3 squared, remember we talked about x times x, which we said it's supposed to be x squared. So if I give you to say x squared is the same as what? This is the same as x times x. So instead of having the letter, now we have a number. We are given 3 to the power 2, which is the same as 3 times 3, not 3 times 2. Don't multiply 3 times 2. It's this number. You multiply it twice. So 3 times 3, which will give you what? 9. So this is what we're going to look at. So let's try to write the solution. Yes, so let's look at question 1 first. We have A, B, C, D. We have 4 questions on question 1. We want to understand this before we look at the actual questions, which is equations involving fractions. Involving square roots. I'm still on the previous topic. Okay, so let's continue. So 3 squared, as I said, this is the same as this 3, which is the base times 3, which will give us what? Give us 9. So 3 squared, 3 to the power 2, it's the same as 3 times 3, which is giving us 9. Then let's look at question B. Negative 6 to the power 2. We have written this negative 6 in the brackets because of the square. So what are we supposed to do? We are going to say, because of the negative, we have written 6 in the brackets because of this negative. So let's look at this negative 6 squared. It's the same as you are multiplying this number negative 6 twice. So it's negative 6 times negative 6. But remember we said a negative number times a negative number will get a positive. And 6 times 6, you get 36. Yes. Now looking at the square root, number C, what are we supposed to do? The square root of 81. So when they ask you to find the square root of 81, they are simply asking you to think the number that you can multiply twice itself to give you the number in the root. So if you are to think, which number can you multiply 2 times itself to get the 81? So you find that it's 9. So the square root of 81 is just 9. What of the square root of 289? What's the answer? Again, you have to think, which number can I multiply 2 times itself to get 289? And the answer is 17. Yes, but just to help a student out there, how can you find the square root? So I would like you to go and master this. make sure that you master 1 squared, you write it's 1, 2 squared, it's 4, 3 squared, it's 9, 4 squared, it's 16, 5 squared, it's 25, 6 squared, 36, 7 squared, 49. Then you go up to 20 squared, which will give you 400. So what does that mean? When you are finding the square root of 1, the answer is 1. Square root of 4, the answer is what? 2. Square root of 9, the answer is that. Square root of 400, the answer is 20. Or here is 36. Square root of 36, the answer is what? Is 6. So make sure that you master 7 up to 20. Go there, 18 squared, find the answer, 324. So all the answers, make sure that you write them and you master them. It will be very easy for you to find the square roots. So this is what we can look at on question 1. Now let's look at the actual equations. How do we solve equations involving the square roots? So let's look at them. Yes, so let's look at question A on equations. When you are given the equation like this, what are you supposed to do? We have the square root, so we need to lead out of this square root. But how can we lead out of this square root? We can lead out of this square root by introducing the square. Let's look at this. You are given a question like this. Then they say solve the equation. You need to remove this square root. How can you remove this square root? You have to introduce the square, even this side with the square. Then the square root and the square, they are enemies. So they are going to cancel themselves. So we remain with x. Then 2 to the power 2, which is 2 times 2, which is x is equal to what? Is equals to 4. So this is how we are going to solve this. For us to remove the square root, you need to introduce the square, the power 2 both sides. So let me introduce this side. So this square root and this square, they are enemies. I'm going to have x minus 1 equals 3 to the power 2. What's the answer? 3 to the power 2, 3 squared. Quickly. Yeah, very good. That is 9. So this is now the linear equation. You just have to collect the like terms. So I'm going to have 2x is equals to 9 plus 1, which is 2x is equals to 10. How can we lead out of this? We know how to solve now, I'm sure. We divide both sides by 2. Then we cancel this and this. Then our final answer here is x is equals to what? Is equals to 5. So that is our answer on question A. Simple, even there, we can just introduce the square. Yeah, so let's look at question B now. We still have the square root. Then we have to lead out of this square root. How can we lead out of that square root? So by introducing the square both sides. So this side I will introduce, write in the brackets, then equals -4 also in the brackets, then square. These are enemies, as I said, they will cancel themselves. We're going to have 3k plus 2 equals -4 times -4. So negative times negative, you get positive. Then that positive 16. Then this one become a linear equation. You just need to correct the right terms. Then 2 being a negative, it's going the other side. So we're going to have 3k equals 16 minus 2. We have 3k equals 16 minus 2, you get 14. Then for us to remain with k, we divide both sides by the number which is having which is with k, which is 3 in this case. So k will be equal to, you can leave your answer in mixed fraction. 3 into 14, you get 4, remainder 2 over 3. And that is our answer on question B. Let's look at the last one now, where we have the square roots both sides. So still we have to do the same. We have to introduce the square both sides. So in this case, we introduce the square this side, also the square this side. So it will be square there, square there. Then this square root and the square will cancel, will remain with this, because square root and the square will remain with 4 minus 3k. Then what are we supposed to do now? We have to correct the like terms. So this v, you drop it, the negative 3k, the other side, joining the k to the left hand side, it will become what? It will become positive 3k. After you write all the terms with, here we have, yeah, here I've written k, it's supposed to be v. K, make a correction. I wrote k instead of v, so here we have v. So there we go, we have the v equals, you drop the 4 which is there, then the positive 3 going the other side, it will become a negative. V plus 3v, we have the invisible one here, you're going to get 4v. 4 minus 3, you get a 1, then you divide both sides by 4. So that is 1 over 4 as our answer. So that is equation involving the square roots. So these are lessons we are giving you. Next time we're going to look at equations involving the square. What are you supposed to do? Watch out for the next video. So just a reminder on the books, make sure that you have a book, because you need to have the notes. You have to be writing those notes that will be giving you. So see you next time. This is your own Mr. Koropa. Thank you.